All right, I've got the original Takomo Skyforger wedge, and I've got the newly released Takomo SF002 wedge. We're going to do a little side-by-side comparison. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. So we've got the older model and we've got the newer model in the Takomo wedge lineup. We're going to go through kind of the differences between them. We're going to hit some balls, see how the numbers look as far as the launch and the spin, and just hopefully give you a little better idea what to expect with these new Takomo wedges if you had been, or even if you hadn't been, in the original Skyforger wedge. All right, let's start off with the original Skyforger 001 we've got right here. I always look at this wedge and it just looks very traditional to me, much more like a wedge from like 1990 or earlier. Just the overall aesthetics of it line up much more closely with those older style wedges. It does also have some features that make it into a more, or set up more like a modern wedge. It's not a chrome finish, it is a brushed finish, although it is a lighter brush, so it is relatively reflective still. It does have some trailing edge relief here, so you can see it's a little easier to open it up. There's a little more heel relief as well, as opposed to just that straight edge that you would see on the older style wedges. It is also a fully forged wedge, so it is also very soft. All right, let's hit some balls, see what kind of numbers, see what kind of spin we get out of each of these wedges. In both cases, we've got 56 degrees, so same loft. I've double checked the loft, so they are exactly both at 56 degrees. So we should get at least a similar starting point from that. Be aware also, because we are hitting indoors off the mat, the spin numbers that you see here are always going to be a little bit lower than what you would see on the course. That is just the nature of the beast when it comes to these mats, even really good high quality mats like what I've got here in the studio. That is going to be the case. If you're wondering, or if you're interested why this is the case, or sort of get a little deeper dive into this whole idea of the mat reducing spin, I did a video on this a while back, and honestly, I think it's one of my favorite videos that I did. So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to leave a link to this video, hopefully shows up here, down in the description if you're interested in seeing a more in-depth look at why the ball does what it does off of a mat, kind of going through different ideas. I think it's definitely worth taking a look at. After you finish this video, check out that video. Also, it's got Mr. Short Game in it, and that guy can definitely hit a wedge. So again, if you haven't watched that one, check that one out. All right, let's get going here. Now, again, we've got, this is the original Skyforger, 56 degrees, which I am guessing probably should go for me about 100 yards, give or take. .83 miles an hour on the ball speed, launch angle 31.6, spin on that guy right at 9,700, carry 99 yards. Oh goodness. So I'm working on my swing right now. If you can't tell, I have got my big swing issue, which is my hips thrusting forward. I am really trying to fight that and get myself into a more rotational delivery through the ball. But because of that, I may hit some not so great shots. So bear with me. And yeah, that's, that can happen. Another good one there. Definitely hit it a little more solidly overall. 32 on the launch. Again, what are we at? 9,500 on the spin. Carry 105. Sound, feel on that one, really nice. Another pretty good one there. I think I clipped it maybe a little bit too much. Very similar launch again. Well, that one was definitely a little skinny, so we'll see what we get out of it. Yep, launch angle went down just a little bit. Backspin also just a tiny bit lower, and we got a little more carry because it was probably maybe 2 grooves low. But overall, pretty good little sample in there, I'd say. Okay, now we've got the Takomo SF002, the new model, and this one definitely looks like a more modern wedge design. This one definitely lines up more closely with any of the, big name modern style of wedge. So a little bit more compact overall head shape to it. Definitely a much shorter, much more modern hosel length to it. We've got the leading edge, I would say, is not quite as sharp on this one as it was in the other one. A more pronounced brushed or satin finish on this one. We've got those now full face grooves running all the way from the very heel to the very toe side of the club. This goes on every one of these new wedges, whether it's the higher lofted ones or the lower 48-degree wedge. They all have these full face grooves. These guys also now come in a couple different grind options. So, or more specifically, you've got more of a just full soled setup, or you can get more of this type of, in this case, what they call the V grind, the versatile grind, which gives you, again, more of that relief on the trailing edge. You've got more heel and toe relief, so you can open it up. You can lay it a little bit flatter on the ground if you're trying to hit those kind of higher launching flop type shots. So one of the other big differences here is going to be that the original Skyforger was fully forged, and this one is actually cast. So as we go through this, we will listen and see if we can kind of pick out any difference. I'll listen. We'll see if you can pick out anything in the audio as far as the sound being different between the forged and the cast. Again, we've got the Lambkin cross-line grip. And then on this one, we've got KBS Tour 120 as the shaft in it. Now, I've seen a couple people make some comments saying that they wished that this had a more, more high-end specialty kind of wedge shaft. Let me just tell you right now, this shaft is perfectly functional for this club. And again, that is the highest compliment I am ever going to pay a wedge shaft. Don't get caught up in this idea of these exotic specialty wedge shafts doing anything better than what a very traditional stock quote-unquote shaft is going to do for you. The weight on this at 120 grams makes a lot of sense. It's going to fit a lot of different golfers. Yes, some golfers may need something a little bit heavier depending on their iron setup, and some may need something a little bit lighter, but this 120 weight for this style of wedge is going to catch a lot of golfers. The overall feel, the overall profile of this shaft, very traditional, very much like what you will get in any number of other big name wedges. So there is no reason in my book why you would need anything different than a shaft like this, other than if you needed a different weight or a different profile specifically to match up to your iron setup. But as far as wedge shafts go, no, this is not super expensive. No, this is not exotic, but is it functional? Is it practical? Will it do everything you need it to do? Yes. Look, I'm not a huge fan of full face grooves. I've been playing golf too long maybe, and I'm stuck in my ways and like a more traditional look. But overall, I don't mind it. It's not my favorite look with the full face grooves, but I understand that there can be some benefits to it as far as functionally speaking. So I'd be willing to kind of put my personal opinions aside for the sake of improved performance. Let's see what we get out of this one. Again, 56 degrees. Expect this to go about 100 yards. Seemed pretty good right there. 82 miles an hour, 31 on the launch, spin just shy of 10,000. And what do we get, 98 yards, and peak height right at 26. Another pretty good one there. I think we got just a little bit more distance on it. 84 miles an hour on the ball speed and 30 on the launch. Spin, yeah, a little bit crisper strike there. So we got up over 10,000 on the backspin. Carry 101 yards. And again, call it 27 yards peak height. Thus far, hitting it, feel-wise, sound-wise, I don't know how it's coming across on the camera, on the microphones, but to me, I don't really hear a difference. You know, a lot of people have this idea of forged versus cast, and there's going to be a, you know, forged feels softer, and the sound can be different and all those things. I'm not really picking up on it. Another very nicely struck shot. 100 yards right on the number, 84 on the speed, 30, just under 31 on the launch angle. Again, 10,000 on the spin, and 27 on the peak height. That was a little bit toey. We'll see what it looks like. Oh, actually, it was a little bit toey, but it still went a very long way. 105 on the carry. Spin went down a little bit because I think it was a little high on the face. So we dropped down to 9,700, launch 31. Again, ball speed still right up there at 87. Got a little bit more peak height. So basically we got a little bit more launch, a little less spin. Again, it was a little high on the face, so that is pretty much what you'd expect. Again, that one may have been just a groove high. Yeah, 33 on the launch, again 84 speed, 97.5 on the backspin, basically 99 yards. That was really nice right there. That is exactly how I want to hit it every time. 85 miles an hour, 32.7 on the launch. Backspin again, right there at 97.5, or 9,750, probably a better way to say that. 102 on the carry. Peak height, again, right there at 30 yards. We have very, very, very similar results overall. They're almost indistinguishable from each other. We do see I got a little bit more backspin out of the SF002 versus the original Skyforger. About 250 on average higher spin. You know, the descent angle, again, slightly higher on the SF002, and the peak height just slightly higher again on the 002. But we are talking, everything is essentially within a degree, within a yard. It's all very, very, very close. Overall, the overall dispersion on the shots, most of those were all hit pretty solidly. I did take out that one shot that we're never going to mention again. And yeah, once we did that, the numbers lined up really, really closely. As far as, again, that idea of the sound or the feel being different between the forged wedge and the cast wedge, I could not tell a difference personally. I could not hear a difference. I could not sense a difference in the way that the ball feels coming off the face. If you could hear any difference, definitely let me know in the comments, but I would be pretty surprised if there was any real difference, because they sounded basically the same to me. The new versus the old, there's the numbers. Not a big difference. I think if you like the original, I think you would like the new ones. I got very similar numbers. If anything, a little bit more spin, which most everyone is probably going to be in favor of. You've got the full face grooves if you are into that. And again, a slightly more modern aesthetic to it versus the previous model, but with very similar results. And of course, it's a Takomo, so the price is really hard to beat. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you go down below, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you'll be alerted when I post new videos. Make sure you're following me on Instagram as well. If you're interested in a custom build, in a repair, in a fitting, all my contact information is down below, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.